During these last few years, I have asked numerous public sector organisations to share the list of targets they are held accountable for and to whom they are accountable with me. None of them has responded voluntarily. I have had to submit what I thought was a simple question using Freedom of Information requests. Some have even failed to respond to these. One very large and well-known public sector organisation has as yet been unable to tell me what their targets are. They have so many that they literally don't know where to start collating them into one place. The public sector's obsession with targets and ratings and the management of reputation at all costs has underpinned the culture of blame that accounts for between 10 and 15,000 avoidable deaths in the NHS each year. Targets pervert behaviour, period. Executives have become obsessed with ensuring their organisations hit their targets to maintain their ratings and reputation. Screw the quality, just get the numbers comes in many disguises. And this dot-to-dot approach to work is incredibly demoralising for the devoted, passionate, professional and well-qualified people who work in public services, many of whom chose their path as a vocation, an opportunity to do something that mattered, to make a small difference. These people want to be measured by the impact they have on the lives of the people they help, not constantly beaten with a stick for underperforming according to a set of meaningless, arbitrary and constantly shifting measures. The job centre in Carlisle was still able to report that it had helped my wife Debbie within the time the advisor was allocated to carry out the process in question. But if you asked Debbie what she thought of the process, after having been reduced to tears and swearing never to go near another job centre in her life, what would she think of the experience she had? Would she call it a success? Would she call it a relevant output or a relevant outcome? I don't think she would. Targets effectively act as blinkers on a racehorse. They create willful blindness by ensuring that organisations and the people in them simply focus on what they're told to focus on. Therefore, I think it's time to trash the targets for public sector services. Get rid of them all. A theory proposed many years ago called Goodhart's Law suggests that as soon as a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a good thing. Targets make organisations and the people in them focus on the wrong things. Time and energy are devoted into ensuring targets are hit and developing the mechanisms and structures for monitoring and reporting on targets consumes vast amounts of valuable and finite resources that could be used elsewhere. Chasing the target and missing the point has become a widely accepted axiom for the way public sector services perform. The targets have become essentially a meaningless surrogate that gives comfort to people in ivory towers, people removed from the day-to-day who don't seem to understand that instructing organisations to stare obsessively at the dashboard inevitably leads to them crashing the car, and measuring the cow never made it fatter. You may hear people say, well, the problem is not targets per se, it's just a case of getting the right ones. There aren't good targets. The only good target in a public service is a dead one. TOD, target obsession disorder, should be a recognised condition in our public sector organisations. It has been creating willful blindness and destroying our public sector services, as well as eroding the morale of public sector employees for decades now. Targets, what are they good for? Absolutely nothing. Say it again. Targets, what are they good for? You get the gist. But without targets, how will we possibly know how our public sector services are performing? How will we know if they are any good or not? The straight answer is that we don't know now. We just think we do. What we are told good performance currently looks like is really a myth. The numbers paraded to the regulator, printed in annual reports and then waved in front of the press, mean very little to anyone other than the regulator. We and the media need to stop treating them as if they do. They give comfort and distract. Think of mid-staff's hospitals. But they are essentially an illusion of quality offered to us in the absence of meaningful information. I think trust, not targets, is what's really needed in public sector services. Let's trust and equip the people that are doing the jobs that add value to do them. Targets exist in the absence of trust. If targets are the disease, trust must be a big part of the cure, probably the biggest part of the cure. When we cannot trust organisations or the people in them to do the right thing, we create legislation and rules and regulations and laws to force compliance. But you can't build trust with regulation or create positive cultures with more legislation. The levels of trust we have in public services should be as important as the levels of profit are to the private sector. How much trust we have in public service organisations should be the primary measure of their success. If you recall how little trust the employees at the mid-staff's hospitals had in the ability of their own hospital to look after their loved ones, that for me was the most telling piece of data available to indicate that something was seriously wrong. Developing trust in public services will entail freeing people from the tyranny of ticking boxes, filling out spreadsheets and compiling meaningless reports. We need to let people get back to practicing their craft while enabling them to continually improve what they do, not incentivising them to become brilliant at merely reporting it.